women at par with men was a most sought after attribute all along. Now this has come true. மாதர் தமிழ் ஈடு செய்யும் மடமையை கொளுத்துவோம், ஆண்களோடு பெண்களும் சரிநிக சமானமாக வாழ்வோம் என்றார் மகாகவி பாரதி. Now our special speaker CA Pravina is to highlight on the requirement of digital competency for professionals. May I request CA Pravina ma'am to start your lecture?
First of all, a very good evening to the gathering there. And thank you for the warm welcome and the wonderful introduction. I hope my screen is visible. Okay, again, a very good evening to all of you and wish you all a very happy Women's Day. And my special wishes to all the kind gentlemen who have also joined us today in this celebration. So first of all, I'm very happy to participate in Madurai, which is I visited quite a long time back. When we think of Madurai, it's the epitome of history and heritage for us. And when we think of competence, no better competent leaders like our Thirumalai Nayakar or our Cholas or our Pandyas, right? So it's a very appropriate place to speak about competence, right? With that, I will directly jump into the topic, which is on digital competence for CS. So this session I have split into a few parts. First, we will try and understand what is competence and how we can become digitally competent, whatever is relevant to our profession. And then we will see what are the more evolving trends and how we have to keep updated and what are the ways in which we have to keep updated. So broadly, this is going to be over the next 20 minutes. I will try and cover these topics, and then we can have 5 or 10 minutes to, if you have any queries, I'll be open to answer you. Okay? I'll get into the presentation. First of all, why digital competence? As Mr. Jain very nicely put it, already we have all passed this big hurdle of CA and we have proven our competency, right? So we have all become accomplished professionals by clearing a certain benchmark. But why specifically we are talking about digital competence? Let us look at some factors which contribute to this. First is there is a huge surge in digital business. Currently, the volume of transactions that happen online or that happen on digital media is very high compared to previously. Second, as a result of this, most of our compliance has gone online. Be it GST filing, be it IT filing, be it Ministry of Corporate Affairs filing, everything has gone online. Third one, we can clearly see banking is almost 100% digital. I don't know how it is there, but most of us, we hardly visit the branch and everything has gone online. Now, as a result of the above three factors, we have a huge surge in transactions. And when we were auditing with few data points, when we were auditing physically, we have a multitude of data points now, which we call as big data, right? So because we have to audit big data, there is a need that we need some sort of help or digital support to do it. That is another factor contributing to this. As a result of all this, we have our audit resources whose time is getting constrained, and they are also becoming, they are rare and they are becoming expensive. So we want to use our resource time optimally, and we want to do it at a point where we make some money out of the assignment, isn't it? So we want to optimally use our resources. So we have to therefore think of all this, and we know for a fact that digital is today a matter of survival. And if we don't get into a digital mode, we know for a fact that we have a huge risk of obsolescence, and whatever we have learned and whatever we accomplished, there is a risk that it becomes irrelevant, right? So this is also a part of how our curriculum itself is structured, whereby we know continual professional development or continual professional learning is part of how we are taking the profession forward. So in this context, therefore, I hope I have set the context for digital competence. I want to leave you with a thought that change before you have to. This has been said by Jack Welch. He was the CEO of General Electric. So you have to change before you have to. If you're compelled to change, and if you change at that point, it's going to be more difficult. I'll just move on. So now when we say competence, competence becomes a it is used synonymously with many things. So let us spend a moment to first understand what is competence. So I'm going to discuss competence in a way in which I understand it, right? So uh, I understand it that it has four components, right? First component is knowledge. Knowledge is possessing facts, information, and awareness. When I say awareness, it is awareness of what is happening now, what is relevant now, what is important to your clients now, right? So this is knowledge. The second component is skill. Skill is the ability to do. So I might know so many things, but I have to be able to apply it and I have to be able to do, right? So that is skill. Third component is practice. Practice is experience. So I might know something, I might be able to apply it, but I have to repeatedly do it and apply it on several cases so that I accumulate that experience with me, right? Now, all this is very beautifully embedded in our CA curriculum itself. So we know that we study so many topics, so many things are exposed to us, so much of knowledge is given to us, and the skill and experience we get it through our articleship program, right? The fourth one is attitude. So attitude is also embedded in our course currently through the GMCS that the students who pass out have to go through the communication skills program. So, and attitude, I'm sure Ruby madam is also going to discuss in detail with you. So in my view, most of the definitions, if you see, it will give only knowledge, skill, and experience. But in my view, attitude is also a very important component for us to be competent. Now, with all these components, what we have to do is we have to complete the task well, right? We have to accomplish the goals we set out to. We have to do it at high quality. So being able to apply all this and accomplish the set out goal is what we are looking at as competence, right? So now we'll move forward. What I want to do is I want to discuss digital competence in these four dimensions or four components. Okay. So I'm going to quickly run through this. First is knowledge, of course. So knowledge, there are many ways. The most obvious one is to qualify and get certain certifications. I've tried to highlight a few which are relevant at this moment. The first one is information security audit. We have DISA given by ICAI and CISA given by ISACA. These are very relevant qualifications to gain knowledge. Then we have IT risk management. There is a ISO 31000 and C-risk course. These two are relevant with respect to IT risk management. Data science is also a very evolving and very good area to be in. A lot of universities are offering master's courses and master's degrees and PhDs in data science. So anybody with number or mathematical inclination can look at that. Then there are several international standards which we can understand, get certified in, and so forth. One is ISO 27001, which is Information Security Management System. It is a very popular one. Then we have the COBIT framework, which is a IT governance framework. Then we have risk management framework, which is given by NIST, which is a institution in US. Then PCI DSS. This many of you may be familiar with. It is payment card industries data standards. So these are all evolving and important areas where we have to update our knowledge. So I just wanted to share with you some ways in which we can stay updated. So one is regular reading. This is a mandate for us. And some easy ways which I have found practical to keep updated are subscriptions, and Google Alerts is very useful. So if you can set a Google Alert for certain keywords which is important for your line of practice, then you will keep getting alerts on the news in that space. Similarly, RSS feeds and apps like Audible, which is audiobooks, and Kindle are very useful to stay updated. Our own institute being a part of this fraternity, we have the easy access to a lot of very good resources through ICAI TV, their digital learning platform, and the CPE sessions that we have. Also make it a point to attend seminars and conferences in related areas. So if you are practicing in GST, try not to attend conferences just in GST. Try to expand your horizons, right? The last bullet is also very important, which is networking with professionals. I have found that two ways are very practical. One is being part of these knowledge sharing WhatsApp groups. Please, not ones where they just say good morning, but knowledge sharing WhatsApp groups, and there are a lot of LinkedIn pages which are very, very, they are very good to learn new things, right? Um, what is important in this part of networking with professionals also is to seek people who are outside your line of work. So if you can consciously make connections with people who are outside your line of work, that gives you an easy access or a good access to knowledge, right? We'll go to the next component, which is skills. So the moment you have knowledge, you want to develop your skills, right? So there is really only one way to develop your skills, which is doing. You have to practice. There is no other way to develop your skills. So there are a lot of online courses through even things like Udemy, Coursera, edX, and so forth. And they are all self-paced, and you can easily do these courses. Ensure you pick courses which say hands-on, or which have a lab activity as part of it. This helps us to develop our skill. ICAI itself has a couple of very good courses in this also. One is on information security audit. Specifically, it's a 3 to 5 day course. And this is very good. They do it in the premises of the institute with some lab work. So this is on skill. Here also, I want to really highlight, please step outside your comfort zone. If you know Excel, don't continue to attend programs which are related to Excel. Try to step outside your comfort zone, and that will help you to consciously build skills. Then we come to experience. So in my view, skills and experience are two sides of a coin. As I said, practice is very important. Just theoretical knowledge will not help you to add value to clients, right? So there are some ways in which we can, even if it is not our active line of practice, there are some ways in which we can build this. One is doing so moto or voluntary projects for your own clients. So you try and sell the idea and do small projects on which you are developing your skills. So that is one way. The other is to intern with experienced professionals. This type of collaboration is increasingly prevalent in our industry, and smaller firms and medium-sized firms always welcome people who want to learn as part of their project teams. So you can seek opportunities like that. The other very modern way of practicing is creating content which you can share online, right? So when I say share online, I am primarily referring only to LinkedIn, because I consider that as the one place where professional material can be shared. Facebook, not so much, but LinkedIn works really well, or through your professional WhatsApp groups, right? So this helps you to create small projects in which you can nicely practice and you can learn. Just as even for today, for this 20-minute presentation, when I started reading, it has helped me to refresh my memory, and it helps us to sharpen and hone our skills. So this is what I wanted to share on experience. Then we come to attitude. So now, given that Ruby ma'am, I'm sure, is going to spend a lot of time on this, but I do feel that emotions, beliefs, and behaviors are very important to fructify your knowledge, to translate into success, right? So what is important? It's important to be passionate, love what you do. And after all, if you've gone through all this torture of finishing CA, I'm sure you have the passion, and keep kindling it and don't allow it to die out, right? Then the will change. It's very important. So none of us can ever say, I have finished studying CA, I have my certificate now, I will stop studying now. It's just not going to work. And we have seen repeatedly that this is the reason for people's failure, right? So we have to willingly and consciously keep changing. Willingness to learn, have a schedule and keep learning. Discipline and time management, I'm going to address this together. Very, very important for us, especially as many of the speakers said, now we are juggling between so many things, and it's always very convenient for us to say, I don't have time to learn, right? So if we have time to do the other 35 things, we have time to learn. So we have to carve out consciously time for ourselves and learn, because this is very important for confidence. And without confidence, you don't have competence. This is I want to really emphasize on this. And given the group I'm addressing, people I come across, this is often the issue. Please prioritize yourself. We have to learn to love ourselves and prioritize ourselves, and therefore this is, I feel, is very important. Last but not the least is overcoming fear of failure. when I meet people, most of them, the apprehension they have is, if I do a small project for my client and if it doesn't work, then it will look bad on me. But I always try to say that even through a failure, there is a learning. It's better than not doing anything, is it not? So just think about it. So I still feel attitude is a very important ingredient to be digitally competent. Now, I want to just quickly flash some areas in which we should already be competent, right? These are not areas to grow in future. These are areas in which already there is a need for us to be competent. So I just wanted to flash it quickly to you. The first one being learning and knowing the accounting software module and the ERP business module and how they interact with each other. All right. So while many of us are auditing financial statements, we have to know how the data for this got captured in the first place, right? So therefore, understanding of the underlying software is extremely important. Second area is IT governance, risk management and compliance, GRC, we call it in short. Governance related points would be, is there proper is there a planned IT enablement in the client's place? Is there a governing body who is overlooking all these efforts? Are they deciding with proper policy on what they want to buy and why they want to buy and so forth, right? That's the governance aspect. Risk management aspect would be, are they ensuring they are secure against IT threats? So one of the primary components of this is incident management, which in smaller organizations, it's managed through a combination of firewall and help desk. And in larger organizations, they use something called as a CM, security incident and event management, right? So what a CM does is, it takes information from websites like Certain. Certain is India's apex body, which gives the cyber emergency response, right? So Certain every day keeps publishing the vulnerabilities. Now, CM is an advanced software which is able to look at the vulnerabilities, and then it will look within the network and it will keep fixing and patching the vulnerabilities, right? So I'm just trying to highlight a few terms to you so that you are familiarized with such things being in place, right? The third point is on compliance. Compliance primarily is on compliance with applicable rules, laws, and regulations. But here, particularly, I want to highlight that IT Act and rules will apply to everybody, right? So you can go to meiti.gov.in, and this is something that even in the current circumstances, when you're evaluating an organization's internal controls, you have to surely look at this. Then we look at IT general controls. I'm not going to elaborate on this. This is something all of you will know. Specifically, access controls, we have to definitely see, especially in this pandemic scenario, you have to know who is accessing what resource. Last but not the least, vendor arrangements. Vendor arrangements, specifically, I'll highlight on 2 points. One is, we have to know whether the information security practices of your client is being followed by the vendor. So whether there is a contract that is binding him to provide a certain level of information security, and whether the contract is binding to provide a certain level of promised availability or promised delivery. We commonly call it as service level arrangements, right? So SLAs. So this is basically the current landscape, and already there is a need for us to digitally be competent and ensure and check all this. Now I'm going to take you through some top trends, right? Some top tech trends which are emerging, right? They are not futuristic, they are already in the market, they are emerging and they are in the process of becoming big. The first one being robotic process automation, or RPA, right? You would have heard of this a lot. This is a scenario where bot or a small software program is able to replace a user. So whatever the user does, it will be able to do. So a very, very crude example is what we do with macros in Excel is a very crude version of a bot, right? So RPA is coming up in a big way, and two people, UiPath and Blue Prism, are leaders in this in India. UiPath has a lot of online resources which you can use to learn more about it and understand this better. Next is use of drones. This specifically being in March now, I hear that a lot of people are moving into a mechanism where they use drones to do their physical verification, to do their surveys, inspections, and so forth. The use of drones is increasing by the day. The third one is advanced data analytics, right? So the common tools for this are Power BI, Tableau, we have R, Python, all these are used in advanced data analytics. As you can see from that, what I'm showing there is a Forbes survey. 53% of the respondents said the maximum change in audit is going to transformation is going to happen through data and analytics, right? So this is a very important and happening area. The fourth area is cognitive technology. When we say cognitive technology, what we mean is a technology which can mimic the human brain, right? So if we say today, the main difference between a computer and us is that computer can do only programmed decision making, right? But we are able to make a informed and reasoned judgmental decision making. But increasingly now, they have built technology which can sense, learn, infer, and interact. Specifically, it can, through its reasoning and learning, it can pass judgment. So this is another emerging technology. Along with augmented technology, many of you even in the center now could be using wearables, smart devices, voice recognition devices, and so forth. So as the name indicates, augmented technology works along with some other technology. So that, and predictive analytics. Predictive analytics is an extension of advanced data analytics also, whereby it takes data or information from the industry or market and it applies to the client's data, and it gives them where they are, you know. So it helps them to predict what are the problems they can expect, how can they expect to perform even before they perform. It's not a trend analysis, it's a predictive analysis, right? So now, all right, these are all the top trends, but what do we do with this? We have to look at the top trends or the emerging trends from 2 points of view. One is how we can use these technologies to make our audit better. In which way? Better quality of audit, efficient audit with less resources, audit which can reduce your audit risk, as well as which can provide some good value addition to your client. So this is one point of view. The other point of view is how can audit clients who use technology, how will we audit them? So when we go to a place and our client is using one of these technologies to, let's say, prepare the financial statement, how would you audit them? So the need for digital competence, I want to again give a context here, is from both these perspectives. Quickly on you and your firm, areas which you can go digital right away, immediately. I thought some of it, I should just trigger your thinking on all this. Time tracking, you can use timestamp or Clockify and you can immediately go digital. Document management, instead of using emails and typical client server mode, you can use OneDrive, G Drive, or one of these online solutions. So with people even working from home, work will not be affected. Online collaboration, of course, this meeting itself we are doing through Zoom, so we are already there. Use of computer aided audit tools, of course, and increasing use of it, specifically augmenting it with data analytics and visualization tools. Use of digital signatures. As of April 2020, ICAI has allowed electronic signature of for signing audit reports and certifications. You may all start practicing that. Last but not the least, I want to introduce this to you. Many of you may know, but for those who don't know, uh, ICAI along with IFAC has come up with a digital competency maturity model, DCMM, right? I think in fact the second version is available now and the information is available online. What this allows us to do is, it allows us to map what is my level of maturity today, and it will help you to track your progress and see where you want to get to. Right, so these are all some of the areas where immediately from tomorrow you can start going digital. Please think about it. So if you find time, I would strongly suggest you should read a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And in that book, he says to master any particular, to become an expert in any particular area, you have to spend 10,000 hours, right? Which means you have to spend 5.5 years. Thankfully for us, we don't have to become masters of the digital age. We just need to improve our understanding, but still we have to better get started. So with that, I would like to open the floor for any questions or any comments or anything you want to share. I'm also sharing my contact details. So anyone wants to, chat offline or touch base, please do. I'm open to it. So while they are fixing it, I would like to leave you with this one thought by our very own Mahatma Gandhi. If I have the belief that I can do it, I shall surely acquire the capacity to do it, even if I may not have it at the beginning, right? So let us all work with that perseverance and be digitally competent. I'd like to thank the organizers for the opportunity. Thank you very much.